Thank you, Ghazvi Saab. Professor Muhammad bin Sofi, whose name with intellectualism, scientific expertise, and devotional teaching, is at present our acting Vice Chancellor. May I have the honor to request you to kindly present your presidential remarks on the occasion. Professor M.A. Sofi.
Culture House, New Delhi, Professor Azizuddin, Dean, Faculty of Humanities and Languages, Jamia Millia Islamia, Delhi, Professor Muhammad Ishaq Khan, an eminent historian and formerly a distinguished colleague of ours here at the University of Kashmir, Professor Hamid Naseem Rafi Abadi, HOD Islamic Studies, distinguished delegates to the conference, dear colleagues and friends. I have no choice but to cut it short and limit myself to whatever I have to say till the break of afternoon, which is only about 3 minutes away. Well, I must confess at the very outset that I'm not competent to talk about Sayyid Hamdani and to say something which is not already known to experts and what has not already been said here during this forenoon. What's common knowledge about him is that he came from an educated family and that he was intelligent and very quick. He read the Holy Quran, as His Excellency Sayyid of Sayyidaf had just indicated, under the care of his maternal uncle, and from him took his lessons on a variety of subjects for a period of 13 years. In order to train himself, he went into seclusion and spent about 60 years in that state. It's also said that he did not utter a single word relating to material life during this phase. Besides being a mystic saint and an effective preacher, he was a man of letters and wrote about 100 pamphlets in Arabic and Persian, including the famous Zakhirul Mulk, a famous book which has been translated into several languages. I don't want to add anything more to the multidimensional personality of Sayyid Hamdan, but I would like to draw your attention to certain issues of contemporary importance which need to be addressed in the light of how the Sufi saint had gone about preaching his message to the masses, as opposed to the manner in which he had sought to spread the message of Islam. The manner in which the same message is intended to be hammered home by its votaries in the present times leaves a lot to be desired. The effectiveness of Shah-I-Hamdan's campaign to spread the word of God ought to be compared with the contemporary times when such a call to divine injunctions is invariably accompanied by animus and hostility, leading in its wake to strife, turmoil, and intolerance in the society. This is essentially on account of a holier-than-thou attitude that is the hallmark of certain sections of society claiming superiority of their faith and their culture over other groups of people or communities in the society who don't espouse the same faith or ideology. Such a view of religion naturally breeds intolerance in the system with disastrous consequences for the society. This is in sharp contrast with the Sufi tradition, which we here in Kashmir never tire of boasting as integral to our ethos, whereby action is supposed to speak louder than words. Whether it was during the Prophet's time, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or during Shah-I-Hamdan's sojourn in Kashmir, when people were abandoning their ungodly ways and embracing Islam in their legions, the success of their mission had to do solely with the strength of character of the person who was inviting them to the path of righteousness and salvation. The essential elements for mutual coexistence among different faiths or groups of different ideological persuasions are objectivity of thought and excellence of character, which shall preclude the possibility of superiority of one group over the other. Besides, it's also essential to point out that the manner in which a certain message has to be put across depends critically on the times one is living in, when this message is sought to be propagated. In the current scheme of things, besides the ageless requirement involving strength of individual character, what's indeed of paramount importance is an acquaintance with the contemporary idiom in which that message is required to be put across. Right now, this idiom is defined by what we call scientific temper. So the need of the hour is to approach issues with a scientific outlook that entails an ethos that values free will, which is so critical for sustaining scientific culture based on reason, innovation, and empirical verification. The fact that Islam had sustained a vibrant intellectual character throughout the European Dark Ages had to do precisely with this kind of an ethos. Closing doors to ijtihad, for example, has already resulted in Islam being dismissed as a static proposition. In order to revive dynamism in Islam, it has to keep growing in ways in which science has been growing over the ages as a dynamic enterprise by questioning established theories and exploring new vistas in different domains of its activity. The crux of the matter is that with this approach towards Islam and science, whereby the two are approached in isolation rather than in tandem, it's not reasonable to expect the Muslim community to emerge from this morass unless the struggle to usher in science has to go hand in hand with a much wider campaign to elbow out rigid orthodoxy and bring in modern thought, philosophy, democracy, and pluralism as integral components of an Islamic world order. One must remember that scientific method is alien to traditional religious thought, where one is taught to accept things as they are. The community is condemned to lag behind in all walks of life, unless Quran is approached scientifically, which calls for its understanding with an open mind. Come to think of it, Muslim disengagement from science has its genesis in the way they approach science, which is exactly how they have been taught to approach Quran. That is, reading it as a drab activity, uninformed by a perception of it as a complete guide in all matters involving life and death, but also where there is enormous scope for debate and discussion. In conclusion, let's understand that the slow development of science and scientific thought in Muslim countries is mostly on account of attitudinal rather than of material reasons. What is needed for progress are the behavioral changes, which are no less exacerbated by an idea of the ephemeralness of this world with an exclusive emphasis on the otherworldliness that's unfortunately overemphasized and strangely eked out as the leitmotif of Quran and Sunnah, contrary to the spirit of Islam, which seeks excellence both of the human mind and spirit for a meaningful and purposeful life on earth. Sufi saints like Shah-e-Hamdan and more contemporaneously Allama Iqbal had advocated precisely the sort of approach which is in keeping with this scientific worldview. Lastly, let me congratulate the Institute of Islamic Studies for this initiative to organize this 3-day seminar, and I wish the seminar a huge success. Thank you all.